always like no. So sometimes like just putting your hand up and saying what you do and what you're kind of looking to learn, maybe a little bit about your experience can be cool, just so I can kind of know who's in the room and bounce questions and ideas off. So just kind of met you guys. You guys said you just joined the office, right? Cool, man. Yeah, what's your name? Okay. Yeah, cool. I did. All right. Cool. Nathan, what's up, man?
Nathan, I'm a broker and investor, and I've actually done quite a few projects with Bobby here.
Yeah, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming.
Bring on John. Who doesn't?
Learn something?
Yeah.
Right. 10 or so.
Yeah.
All right, now see what here a few months. Just want to
Cool. Are you thinking learning and get other investors deals, or maybe doing something yourself type thing? Or?
yeah, probably both of them. Right out for myself.
Cool.
The license handyman, by the
All
way.
right.
You
There
just
we
got
go.
it.
See, there we go. See, everybody here probably needs a licensed handyman. So
Yeah.
it's good exercise, even though you're gonna get it. So we definitely get your information.
I'm Rajvi. You put it off.
Nice.
I'm Terry, same with you guys. New last 6 months, I'm trying to.
Right.
My name is Ariel. Yeah, I'm here to learn and be, so I can better serve my clients who are looking to do deals like this.
Hi, I'm Melinda. I'm with JB Realty Group, and I'm a buyer's agent primarily. And I'm also learning that I have investor clients, and maybe someday I will be an investor.
Love it.
Eric Tate, full-time real estate investor, also an agent. I've been investing for about 4 years. About 15 flips, but mostly buy and hold long term.
Yeah. Eric and I have been talking a little bit. He been converting garages to like ADUs. So definitely should connect Ariel and Linda here. They're definitely hunters and gatherers out there finding deals. And Eric and I try to put some stuff together, but it's unique and cool to like meet people who are creative, right? Because it can be hard sometimes to have one box fits all when you're working with investors, fix and flip. So, Michelle.
I am Michelle Zaragoza, your team leader. And I'm here to learn from Bobby. Been doing this for 30 years and I've never seen someone like him. Yes, I'm excited.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
My name is Curtis. I worked with Bobby on his acquisition side and just love learning about it. Like she said, he's a very smart mind. There's a lot of things going on in there and it's nice to be able to learn from.
Appreciate that.
I'm John Lanting from the Eternity Realty team. And I am Bobby's uncle.
You're in his will, right?
Can't you guys see the resemblance?
I'm Brian. I'm here to learn from the best. So trying to pick up a few tips from Bobby.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, one of the fellow Tesla owners here.
Yeah, one of the
Like 10 of them.
Yeah. They're all great. They're all great.
Next, we go to you.
Okay, I'm Dexter Moore. I am a realtor and property manager. I've worked with a lot of investors, a lot of time placing their tenants for them and doing some property management. I'm also a realtor here. Keller Williams, been doing this for about 15 years.
Thank you. Yeah, Dex helps us find some tenants for some of our properties, and if you ever guys have things like that, it's definitely a useful resource for sure.
Hi, this is my name is Prince Dylan. I'm an investor and a business owner, and want to do some fix and flips deals in this area. So I'm here for networking and more learning.
I'm Carlos with the Peterson office, and I heard got some investors and contractors that we're trying to group together and start some of the investing business.
So thanks for coming.
James Davis, realtor here. Also have the pleasure of my team and I getting the opportunity to shoot a lot of Bobby's homes. So get to see the transformation that happened. It's always exciting to see. So wanted to learn a bit about what you do and gain some information for myself.
Yeah, go-to photographer for sure. He's ended up Tahoe for me, Vacaville, anywhere he needs to go. Coming up, let's see, man. It's got a Tesla too, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So it's all electric. Let's go.
Everybody.
Hi, I'm Yanette. I just joined the Peterson office about a week ago, so I'm just here to learn a little bit more about flips and hopefully investing one day and just how to get in with people that are investing.
Thanks for making the drive.
Well, I'm Lynette. I'm a road to fellow, and I'm here to learn.
Thanks for coming. Nice to meet you.
I'm Brian Decker, loan officer. Been able to see Double Bobby's work and looking forward to learning more of the ins and outs.
Dustin, due to investing, we guilty of look to get fixed up, so just trying to.
Liz, I'm just here to learn as well.
Right. My name is Lowe's, I'm a realtor here, and just want to fly. We find the deals after.
So we'll kind of get into kind of a few different pieces of.
We drove some Zoom land peeps too, Bob. We got 10, 15 people up in Zoom land, so just make sure you.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining, guys.
Make sure we're
What's going on?
talking loud and when we're asking questions, really project your voice so they can all hear, okay?
Cool. Hopefully they can hear me as well. And yeah, they just kind of go around the room, introduce themselves, like understanding where people are at, like what conversations can go in what directions per se. And then again, like we found a handyman, guys some ADUs, we got a lender in here, like a lot of different things. So it's good to kind of get a mixed group for sure and understand what folks are doing. So anyways, we're gonna talk about, hunting for deals, what's kind of worked for finding deals for me. Yeah, a little bit of background, talk about some ins and outs of working on projects and things like that. And certainly like want to make this interactive. If you guys have questions along the way, please let me know. Feel free to stop. I don't want to necessarily talk up here the whole time. So clicking kind of smoothly. Are you clicking?
No, you're clicking.
Okay, there you go. All right, so just a little bit of background here, all right? Lovely family here on the right, and just talking about finding your why, right? Of course, it's like how, why we do the work that we do, right? Where do we want to get to at a certain point? And certainly my two little guys, got a 2-year-old almost and 3-year-olds, and they're definitely my why and why. Real estate has helped me create some like freedom, right? Like when I was just a realtor per se, I was trapped to my client schedules, right? So I started working with investors because it was a little easier, right? I was able to write offers per se on an 8 to 5 basis, then driving around on the nights and the weekends. So something definitely to keep in mind, like my quality of life has definitely improved since becoming an investor. Where when I was starting running and gunning, like I was just grinding all the time, the open houses, the eating. So certainly having my why in mind. So I started with 3 Point Real Estate. I've had my license for about 8.5 years now. It's almost 9, kind of crazy. Definitely didn't start or have much to begin with when it all got going. But I had a mentor. His name was Chris McPhail. He's into real estate, basketball, 3 Point Real Estate, and he was into flips, property management, and sales. And he had a contractor's license as well. And really, I just started like finding deals through him, right? And it was looking on MLS, like looking on Craigslist, looking on Facebook Marketplace back then, but just kind of like figuring out all these underground ways and online, just firing off offers. And it started with a mentor, and really after a while I was finding him deals, and then I started doing joint ventures with him. And ultimately in 2016, I was able to purchase like my first couple of properties. And so, give you some context, my first 3 properties that I bought was a referral from a hard money lender, a realtor in my office at Remax, and an attorney. And the first one I ever did, I partnered with my mom, right? Like 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, it's definitely properties might have been a little cheaper. We were able to come in to use a hard money loan, and I had 15,000, and she had 15,000, and we were able to go house on a flip, and it's kind of off of the races after that. I made pretty good profit of like 40,000 or so, and realized that you can make some good money here, and how can I seek to do more? The attorney that I got the deal from, it was a probate attorney, and I really kind of have always understood that I wanted to have like more of a referral network. And I was primarily with attorneys. You know, even when I did more traditional sales, I get deals from lenders, I get deals from trust officer, I get fiduciaries, I get attorneys, we'll talk about that a little more in hard money lenders. I've definitely made a lot of mistakes over time doing deals that I've done and whether it's rehab or marketing strategies or hiring incorrectly, so we'll talk a little bit about that. I've kept a lot of rentals that I've come across. So currently on about 38 units on a rental portfolio, and it's primarily come from like the BRRRR strategy. And that's primarily finding distressed properties where I bought them and I fixed them up and decided I don't necessarily want to flip this and just keep a profit. I'm going to keep it and hold it for, you know, long-term wealth. And to this day, you know, bought an apartment complex. It's been about a year and a half now. Had a number of headaches and certainly a steep learning curve with that. 5-plex, triplex, duplex, things like that. I've been short-term rental, done room and board. I've tried sober living. Like definitely try like a little bit of everything to see what works and what doesn't. And some are definitely more hands-on than others. But you know, seeking cash flow, because cash flow is hard in California, right? Primarily, what most of our rentals in the portfolio is, it's like long-term retirement, wealth building. Right, it's not necessarily cash flow. There's been a lot of tax benefits. Brian and I talked a lot about it's called cost segregation analysis, where you can accelerate the depreciation and get pretty hefty write-offs. Done over 100 flips. I'm probably doing about 3 to 4 deals a month right now, and so things have been rolling. It certainly didn't start that way, right? It started again 7-8 years ago in the flipping world, and it's been an adventure. So we're gonna get into like, what did I learn a little bit over the years? Again, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. 2 sources of income is better than 1. Now I do have a few different businesses. I have my mortgage license. I got we do some hard money loans. I have our real estate sales business that my wife more so runs. I do some flips, and then we got the rental properties. So you know, certainly as I was getting going and scaling, I was just focused on being a realtor, and again, like just hustling and grinding, and that was all it was. And then started doing some flips on the side. Finding rentals again is definitely an opportunity to save some money on taxes. It's the past couple of years I've had some nice tax breaks, and certainly something to explore a little more that I, you know, continue to put in like a strategy as I'm analyzing properties. Like, is this something that I just want to flip? You make your X amount of dollars and then you're gonna get taxed 30-40%, or is it something that I might keep? Maybe you're only cash flowing $500 or $700 a month, but you have massive tax write-offs, right? So just kind of understanding like what the best exit strategy could be is definitely something I've learned over the years. You know, as a realtor, again, like working with investors, you have an opportunity to make 2 to 3 commissions, right? Like usually you have that buyer and it's one and done, right? They're buying a house, they're gonna stay there for 7 years, and maybe they'll call you if you keep buying them pies and sending them flyers and relist their house, which does work as well. But you know, working with investors, right, you have that lifetime client per se, right? You can get a couple commissions up front if you're double living it, right? And then you get listed on the back end. So you get opportunities to make a couple deals, which is again why I've always kind of gravitated towards working with investors. Made a lot of mistakes along the way, and we'll kind of bump into some of those. There's just kind of a quote in a bold law actually that's up here. It's change your thinking and change your world, right? And it's basically your RAS, reticulating activating system. And it's again, like you think that there's Teslas all over the place when you walk out into a parking lot, and there are. So that's a different example, but ultimately, like when you're driving down the street, you're in the neighborhood, right, and you see a tarp on the roof. Right, you see a burnt down house in your neighborhood, you see a boarded up house, right? It's just thinking a little different. And I think that's for like builders that specifically focus on your standard buyers and sellers. You have more opportunities with investors, and literally there's opportunities everywhere. Whether it's door knocking a house, Nathan's always done a great job of seeking out flyers and having a very sniper approach when we're like finding deals in our neighborhoods. It really is like, how are we thinking and how just being more aware, and hopefully like presentation can trigger some of that for some of us, like ways that we can find more opportunities, find more deals, make more money this year. So we're talking a little bit why I work with investors and why I look for investment properties as well. done a number of crazy deals, fire damage properties, I've done any ground up, but majority burnt down, done some mold. Properties with a lot of mold, drive around all the above, so talk about how to find some different deals. Some of the other mistakes I made is certainly like the permitting process. I'm actually doing a property right now and something that you don't quite understand, you know, specifically if you're an investor looking to buy a property, it's like, and how I analyze properties, things that require a lot of work, they're a lot harder to accomplish to get it to the finish line, right? And in times, I've had issues with the permitting process. If you are going through the county and getting a proper permit, you're gonna need plans, if you're moving a wall, right? Or if you're adding bathrooms, or if you're doing an addition, you know, sometimes or converting ADUs, right? It can be a complicated process. So certainly, you know, having the end result in mind of how that all plays out, plans, engineering, all the above, it can take about 8 to 12 weeks sometimes, right? When drawings can take 4 weeks, engineering can take a couple weeks, then you're spinning into the building department, and that's like an additional 8 weeks. So something to keep in mind, like if you're looking for properties either for an investor or for yourself, like you gotta analyze hold times. A lot of the properties that we end up buying, we use high interest loans. Like a traditional loan will not fund on these type of properties, so it's called a hard money loan for those cases. And if you're having delays with permitting, like you're talking about 4 months, can eat the cost of the profits and ultimately make it like a bad deal at the end of the day. Underestimate, yeah.
So like if you're not changing the square footage or anything of that and you're just completely remodeling it, do you still need a permit no matter what? Or it's only if you're like adding extra stuff?
It's a good question, you know, technically, you're supposed to pull the permit, like if you're changing the light fixture, the toilet, and water heater, which a lot of us could be homeowners, like usually don't pull permits for things like that. But in theory, you can get red tag and get like a code violation if you're doing anything without a permit. The only thing you can paint, you can do floors and cabinets, that's kind of it. But anything when you're touching plumbing, electrical, windows, you're supposed to pull a permit. And those are a little easier, they're like called over the counter permits, they can still take like 2-3 days. But it's more so when you're moving walls, changing the design, adding a bathroom, that you get into more complicated scenarios that can be costly when it comes to timeframes. And certainly like, you know, yeah, like Eric does some ADU conversions and we talked about, I've had some horrible experiences with ADUs personally, so I'm a little jaded and he's kind of bringing me back a little bit. Yeah, I mean, if you get a good process down, right, and you're working with the right people, those things can move a little quicker. And here in California is like being more of a proponent of things like that, but still, it could be 8 to 12 weeks for sure. So that's bad contractors, hard money costs, again, we could probably spending marketing dollars without direction. So how to get into stuff, you know, basics, what is a distressed seller, probates and trusts, pre-foreclosures, notice of default. These are all various lists that we'll pull for different searches that we'll do, and then you kind of do a variation called the stacking. Primarily, most of the deals that I'll purchase tend to be like probates and trusts. Like there's a death in the family and the property is inherited by someone else, and ultimately it's going to change hands, right? It's often, you know, not updated. It was grandma's house that has the old kitchen, the old bathroom, things like that. So about 70% of the deals do come from that. I mentioned fire damage. I've done some property like that, tax liens, late credit card payments, absentee vacant. We'll talk a little bit about how like you can stack those lists and then have like an understanding like there's a higher score that this person's more likely to sell. Any questions on like any of those? Various marketing channels, right? I've tried pretty much everything, and some I've succeeded on, and some I've put away, and then ultimately, you know, it's sticking with a game plan for a long period of time. Currently do direct mail right now. I do pay-per-click. We do some texting. Our team does some driving for dollars. We invest or talk to folks in investment Facebook groups. Certainly, networking is a big proponent here, but ultimately, you know, paid like TV ads, radio ads, like Laurel Buys Homes was a speaker at one of our meetups a couple months ago, and there's individuals that are, when you're doing this at like a high volume, and you're scaling, like people are spending like $40,000 to $50,000 a month on marketing. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen like Laurel, she's the one with the cowboy hat and ladies like in her sixties or something like that. She's crushing it and she's dropping like 30 grand a month on TV ads. Kind of crazy. She's doing like $20,000 a mail. So I've somewhat took a page out of their book and have a lower marketing budget, but primarily like it's simple things that people are getting deals from and just being consistent on it. And so in some cases pay to play. There's like the sniper approach versus the shotgun approach. I'm gonna break down a little more. How to calculate deals, right? Just kind of touch base on this real quick. This is like a formula that a lot of investors will use. And if you're a realtor and you're looking to get deals for an investor, right, this can be somewhat of a criteria for you to understand of what people are looking for, right? If you're an investor, this is, you know, basically what you want to calculate in your mind to whether it's a good deal or not. So a percentage of ARV, you know, after repair value is what ARV stands for. So if you're buying a house for 400,000 and meets pretty much everything, you're going to want to get it for about 200,000, right? If it's a medium, and I just kind of, I break it down and I give this to my team and I give this to sometimes agents that I work with, so they kind of understand a criteria of what makes sense when they're looking and analyzing the deal. Again, like a full interior and then two bigger items above, like, you know, the big ticket items, right? A roof is like $10,000, an HVAC's $10,000, plumbing, electrical, windows, maybe each of those are about $7,000. Again, I mentioned like time is a good, you know, when you're doing those bigger projects and you have time frames, if you're moving walls around and adding bathrooms, it's definitely something to consider. And then lighter properties are just sprucing up, painting, landscaping, things like that. Again, like just talking a little bit earlier about spending money to make money, like I've learned that a lot of the companies, like they have a big marketing budget. Michael Soares in this office, like their team didn't miss much of a beat last year because they spend a lot of money on marketing, right? They literally, I think, dropping over $100,000 on like a mail in front of their client's house. They drop in front of all of Natomas. Every house in Natomas, they drop a postcard every month. Tom Daves has been one of the top realtors forever in Sacramento region, and he mails, he advertises a lot. Shelby Elias is a lender that is in Sacramento, and you know, he would join forces with like on Zillow and Realtor.com, spending $50,000 to $80,000 a month on like online lead sources. So there is a piece to that, and it's like these could sound like a lot of money. Ultimately, it's again getting going, partnering folks, but it's like where can you possibly like partner with somebody to spend some money to get a return and to send out that piece of mail and you guys split a profit or something like that. If it sounds like a lot at first, right? Again, we talked about TV with Laurel, you know, you could get into some of these ventures for 10,000 for radio, maybe five for radio, 10,000 for mail. Pay per click can be 5,000 to 10,000 if you're doing mail campaigns, 2,000 to 5,000. This is kind of like standard practices, I guess, when you're scaling a business and you're really trying to get in front of a lot of people. You are going to get a return on your investment. Ultimately, it's like sticking with something for 6 to 8 months. So something to keep in mind there. You know, with the mail campaigns, we'll talk about that a little bit. So driving for dollars, for example, right? You can have a more like sniper approach when you're doing mail campaigns. Literally, like starting out, I was door knocking, I was walking around neighborhoods, I was driving around, and you're making a list and you're writing all these properties down that look distressed, and you're specifically mailing those, right? It's a much more condensed mailing list, or you get their information, you skip trace them, and you call them. You can text them. There's an app called Deal Machine that we used for a while. That basically is like a CRM. When you're driving around and you just take like a picture of a property and you add it to the CRM right then. You can skip trace it, you can mail it instantly right there. So it's a pretty cool tool. It's like $90 a month that can help you build this condensed mail list that's much cheaper than if you're doing like the mass mail.
What was that app called again?
It's called a Deal Machine. Yeah. But yeah, again, pretty cool. You can go in there, get the information, you can call them, text them, it'll show them like the tax information too, how much they owe on the mortgage. And I used to roll around and just write things on a piece of paper. Like when you get back to your office and you have all these random addresses, like I've become much more organized over the years, but you know, this is a pretty useful tool that you can use to put everything in. So yeah, I mean, couple more ideas for like neglected property per se, overgrown lawns, boarded up windows, abandoned vehicles, kind of sit tarp roofs. There's a lot of them around, and often you can get a really good list if you're just simply scooting around. And then, I mean, what can you can tell your friends, right? Like, what if you have a buddy that's a pizza delivery driver or Amazon driver, FedEx, or the mailman or something? I talk to my mailman. Keep me in mind. You got people that you see in the neighborhood, right? So ways to like outsource that a little bit, so it's not just you know driving around the neighborhood. So here's some tools that we've been using over the years: batch leads and PropStream, probably the main two, probably some others. Who here uses or heard of either one? A couple of you guys. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you can basically you grab one of these databases and you're pulling lists and you can stack them. As I said earlier, there's criteria that you want to look up where it's like somebody inherited a property, someone's late on their taxes, they have a high credit card balance. It can even break it down to if they're a smoker, if they like haven't paid their car payments, if they were recently divorced. Like it's kind of crazy all the data that's available in a tool like either one of these. And then again, if you're stacking all these against each other, right, you're developing a score that is obviously and again like a higher probability that they're going to be selling a property in the next 12 months. Foreclosures daily, and what would you do then? You mail them, text them, call them, leave them. Foreclosures daily is another tool that we use. We basically pull probate lists on there because it's real-time data. Batch leads and PropStream. Sometimes their data is like 30 days old per se, or when it's like courthouse data, which is code violations, maybe divorces, probates, various things like that. Foreclosures daily is a tool that we generally use because if it's filed with the court on Monday, you can get that data on like Tuesday or Wednesday. You can also go down to the courthouse specifically and pull this data, and it's free there. But these are some of the ones that are paid. Some of the dialers that we use, Mojo Dialer is one that we currently use for cold calling. There's a bunch of other ones. It's like $100 a month, and then you can load up, 100 numbers and knock them out in maybe an hour and a half or something like that. So it's a quicker way to kind of move through like a cold calling campaign. Again, I said deal machine earlier. Investor VAs and cyberbacker. My first hire was a virtual assistant. Anybody in here have a virtual assistant?
Not two.
Thanks. I had 3 at one point, and now I'm down to 1. But they're awesome, right? They're either in the Philippines. I've had somebody in Africa before, and Poland, and some of them edit my videos. Actually, there's a guy in Pakistan that we use for various things too, right? Like engineering background on our CRM. Like there's a guy in Pakistan that we use. Editing videos that we have on social media. James Gamgee, I'm not sure which. But anyways, like there's, you can get help on various tasks that you're doing outside of the country that can be more affordable, right? It can be expensive to bring on an employee in California, in the States, when you're talking about it's like $20 to get someone in the door, and then you're paying payroll taxes and all this other stuff. Cyberbacker is a company that was created by a Keller Williams team leader in Utah or something like that. So they're somewhat trained on like we don't use SkySlate anymore, but
It's a team leader, and it's one of the MAPS coaches that came together and saw a need. So it's another thing that with Keller Williams, in so many different doors, right? They saw the need and they actually did it. They helped us all out.
Yeah, so it's and like $1,000 a month, you could pretty much have like a full-time assistant, right? There's obviously more training involved with marketing pieces, the campaigns that you're running, how to run text campaigns, mail campaigns, list pulling campaigns, some transaction coordinating for stuff that we do. So certainly a way to like help scale. You don't have the money, and this is rough. Additionally, like they'll do cold calling campaigns. I get called all day, like people, roosters in the background at like 12, 2, 4. investor VAs is specifically more with the investment niche. Not sure who created it, but they have folks that are more in line with more experienced cold callers that know how to do all this stuff, so maybe there's less training involved. They'll have admins, management, things like that, so a couple different companies to think about if you're looking at doing like virtual systems. List stacking again, talked about it a little earlier, but you're just cross stacking tax liens, credit cards, divorce, things like that. Water shutoff's a pretty big one. I'd say the two that we've kind of had the most success for is like tax delinquents, water shutoff, probates, specifically for mailing.
Where do you find that information?
On these like sites, so it's like literally actually the prop stream. Yeah, so and that those softwares are like $90 a month, $99 a month, and they'll have tutorials.
So after you figure out whose water got shut off, you go and knock on the door? Or are you sending them mailers?
We're mailing them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've done text campaigns in the past. Obviously not on the up and up.
Yeah.
Gray area for sure, and then all the carriers have kind of canceled.
Okay.
Made it a lot more challenging to do it, but we were sending about 10,000 to 15,000 texts a month.
Wow.
So we're letting it ride for a while, and you know, you could certainly get. I've heard many stories. Pat and I are in a program called Wealthy Investor with Ryan Pineda. They've been sued quite a few times.
Okay.
So, like writing like some decent sized checks.
Yeah.
So certainly something to be careful of for sure.
And then the batch leads and prop stream has the contact information to the people that are.
Yeah, you gotta skip. Yeah, you gotta pay for it. So you can pull. So you can pull 10,000 pieces of data a month for free in there, and then you could mail it or whatever, or door knock it. Or, But to skip trace it, and skip trace means like you're getting their information, right? They're pulling data from utility companies and maybe cable companies or whatever, right? And they're getting some phone numbers there. They'll probably give you 3 or 4 phone numbers. Half of them are probably wrong. Sometimes you don't get hits, but they'll have phone numbers on there. Sometimes they'll have emails. We've set up email campaigns. We've just emailed them and gotten some hits from that, right? Obviously, it's a less intrusive, not a legal way to spam people.
Yeah.
So maybe a little more up and up instead of like texting. Okay. We're uncertain about that. Obviously, you got the do not call list too. You're like cold calling people. So all things to be aware of.
If you're buying a property like this, right, but let's say there's like tax liens and code violations and stuff like that, are you taking subject to all that stuff?
No, 99% of the time, the title company, Kelly's still here.
No.
The title company's clearing that up.
Okay.
So usually they give you a free and clear title. The only one, there's some tax code. The code violations can get transferred with you. So
Okay.
code violation is, again, the city saw something was done there that didn't have a permit, or maybe there's a nuisance to the neighborhood. So they red tag it, and it's hard to close those in a short period of time. So often the fines are paid off, but the violation gets carried over to the new homeowner, and then we have to clear it up. I had something crazy. I bought a foreclosure property lately. Eric looked at that Home Vista property, and it was an online auction that I got it from, and the title company didn't check some stuff or clear some stuff on the prelim where they didn't pull all the code violations properly from the county, and they rolled over like $10,000 in fees to me. So I'm currently like in a title claim with them and potentially like trying to do small claims court with the bank because they should have cleared a title, but foreclosures get a lot more hairy, where oftentimes utilities and liens can get transferred to you if you're buying at the courthouse steps or sometimes online. Other properties, you're supposed to get a clear and free title except for code violations. And code violations is like a really good list to mail too, because it's like the apartment complex, the 14 unit property that I picked up, it was a code violation mailer. The guy, Sacramento County's going around and it's called a rental housing inspection, and they're nitpicking. Like, if you don't have caulking places, or your doorknob's a little loose, or, you know, even tenants that aren't paid, they'll still hit you with some violations. So this guy had a laundry list of code violations, like 2 or 3 pages. And they were all small, but he was like, I'm done with it, you just get fed up, right? Especially on like multifamily, so it was definitely, got a pretty good deal on it. And, you know, again, like people are motivated by distress situations, or when they're just, it's too complicated, they don't wanna handle it. Code violations are pretty good though. And again, it's like you can go online and pull that data, but foreclosures dailies, it's a good place to like real time data. This is all some of the stuff that I mentioned, like my little guy a few years ago, he's like 3.5 now, it's crazy. He was definitely, you know, job sites a lot, but, yeah, so this is just kind of recap of things that we're talking about. TCPA laws, that just means the texting and cold calling, you gotta be mindful of how you reach out to people. Your network is your net worth. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we did about 30 deals last year, and half of them, or a little more than half, were referrals. Like, when I became a realtor, I started in insurance, and my background was insurance, and I used to get all my deals from loan officers and all my deals from realtors. And when I jumped into real estate, I was like, I gotta figure out how to find a referral, like, you know, consistent business that keeps coming. And I felt like limiting belief was like, it's harder being a realtor because, like, where do the deals come from? Well, there are lots of different ways, and a top one for me was really attorneys. Like, I used to, you know, cold call, I don't have probate attorneys up there for some reason, but probate attorneys I've always gotten the most amount of deals from. Fiduciary officers is definitely this like hidden niche when a property, when somebody passes and there's no family members, a fiduciary ends up being hired to sign on behalf of the owner. Like, a probate attorney can help facilitate the court documents, and then, you know, they give whomever authority to sign, and it's still like my property per se. A fiduciary can like be signing for 10 deals or 10 listings or 10 sales like a month. So it's definitely a source that we've definitely created marketing strategies around. Bankruptcy attorneys, I have a couple like bankruptcy attorneys that we've worked with over the years, getting short sales or some properties before they go to REOs, or they've been good flips or listings, stuff like that. I get a lot of deal from wholesalers. Some of those probably wholesaling here, but essentially a wholesaler is when a lot of times they're finding a seller and they're a middleman for a property, and oftentimes they're not necessarily licensed, and they're making a fee in the middle and selling it to someone like myself. And you know, it's a good lucrative way that's become certainly more popular these days.
Other dudes have, like, I feel like with the wholesaler, isn't there like a time period they have to sell it, and can you just wait it out and then get it from the owner?
Potentially, yeah. You know, then a wholesaler may have like a slew of buyers, right? It's like you're just waiting it out, but they might just be able to find that buyer anyway, right? Plus, like, I mean, there's like an unspoken rule I feel with wholesalers, like, you know, you want to bite the hand that feeds you. Like, if someone's bringing you a deal, you want to make sure that they're getting compensated and paid, because this is a long-term game. You know, for me, reputation is definitely huge. Probably did 5 or 8 deals last year from wholesalers that I've worked with for years, or you want to build that relationship with. Obviously, if something comes back around, they're not going to be cool and bring you a deal in the future. Something to keep in mind. But I will say, like, Sunday, I don't know if you guys have heard of Sunday, but it's like a tech company that wholesales, right? You guys heard of Sunday? If you're looking for properties, you can go on Sunday, right? Or even Investor List. You go online and there's like 15 properties on there, maybe in our area, and it's basically sellers that don't want to post their property online, right? So why do people not want to post their property online? They may have inherited mom's house or grandpa's house, and maybe there are hoarders and alcohol problems, whatever you want to call it, and they don't want that property going online, right? You know, people often ask, why don't they just list it? Well, they want to sell quick, they don't want to deal with realtors, they don't want open houses, they don't want inspections, blah, 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 right? So anyway, Sunday's made call it some version of a hedge fund process where they will post properties online and essentially wholesale them. My point here is that I have ran campaigns to like those sellers because they don't always sell them, right? So Sunday's like a big company, kind of like Open Door, and in theory, they don't have a fiduciary contract with that client. So we have done marketing to properties that were locked up by Sunday per se. So a variation of what you're saying on a bigger scale, still there's gray area, they don't have like a fiduciary per se where you're not allowed to work. Any other questions on that? Yeah, hard money lenders are definitely a huge source. Hard money lenders, basically, how I buy properties, I use hard money lenders, right? So they're often seeing inventory per se that maybe I was buying this property and it didn't work out, but Matt knows the lender and they hit up Matt like, hey man, you want to buy this property? So it is like a decent source that I've picked up a couple deals a year from hard money lenders. Restoration companies, you know, when they're dealing with like insurance claims and stuff like that, it's often like an easier process to get a discounted deal because like they're getting a check from the insurance company, right? If you know, a bathroom had some crazy water, we're contract on one in Lincoln right now. I think it was like a roof leak or something like that. Insurance company gave him like a $40,000 check, and honestly, I could probably like do the work on that property for like $20,000, right? So you're able to have an easier negotiation sometimes if they're getting like a nice check from the insurance company, and you're able to do the work less than the contractors that the insurance company recommends, and you have a better chance of getting a steeper discount. Fire damage properties in particular, they can be scary, but they can be pretty lucrative deals. Again, insurance agents like a source where you could find some of these properties, right? Sometimes they'll have clients that have claims, and they may be looking for a buyer. So, best practices for marketing the probates. When I started out, like I used to go to, if you guys have ever been to the Realtor Association, the attorneys have an association, right? Like you can go there and be that super awkward guy marketing to all these attorneys and trust folks and fiduciaries. I used to go to these like 8 years ago or 7 years ago, and they'd have luncheons and there's like 40 attorneys there, all probate attorneys, and they're doing their monthly educational type thing or topic or mastermind or whatever. And I was just passing out cards at like 28 years old and feeling super uncomfortable. But, people respected the hustle, and I made some relationships and I followed up with the people. So certainly there's mixers. There's it's a niche that you guys have interest in pursuing. The bankruptcy courts, they have a bankruptcy forum in March. I think it's coming up. Paul Boudier, if you guys know him with Keller Williams, the guy probably does more REO sales than anybody in our county, our region. He's like on the board for the bankruptcy forum. So, getting involved with stuff like that has certainly helped create relationships where I've had referrals for years. Again, estate planner events, I think they do like a forum too. Finding deals that sell probate properties, right? You can go on Metro List. Specifically, if you're looking for deals for other investors or yourself, right? You can categorize under special condition and look for probate deals that are sold, and you'll see patterns for agents that have sold more properties than others, maybe, right? There's a handful of guys that just do more probate deals than anybody else in the region. So making relationships with them, saying you got a buyer, you can try to get something off market, or you yourself are looking to get that property yourself. And then of course, I know I'm going backwards here, but public record, you could call, text, mail, probates for sure, like the number one source that you can find distress deals. Any questions on probates?
Yeah, let's say somebody gets probate deals, does they have to hit market? Or he can just sell it to you without offering it to everybody else?
That's a good question. It really can depend on the attorney. I've noticed some attorneys they insist that it hits MLS, and they could be concerned that maybe it wasn't marketed properly or something like that. There's still a lot of probate deals that are done off market. Yeah, but in some cases, I'd say it's like 30% of probate deals where you run into a situation where like this has to be listed.
There's a question here. How does insurance work on burned out properties? Can you even insure them during remodeling process?
I don't know if you can today, but
Yeah.
it's changed a lot with like insurance for sure. It's like doubled since when I started living. The correct policy that you're supposed to get for a flip is called a vacant construction policy. Because it's a vacant policy, it's much higher risk. It's like $4,000 right now, $4,200. It's crazy. It's a little basic 2-bed, 1-bath I have, and it's a dope house over here. But it's like $4,000. Like it's crazy. They used to be like 1,800 or 2,000, so they have a lot. And Foremost was one of the companies I used to use a lot. They were a farmers company. They left California. They were using REI Insurance Pro. But back to your question on the financial part, I didn't have problems getting them. It's a construction type policy. It might have been a little higher, but if it's in the city per se, you know, I haven't had crazy issues. There are some situations where the property's older, like just recently on buying one in Hayward, and the property was like 80 years old, and a lot of companies kicked it out and didn't want anything to do with it. Our broker here, Alex Trent, our insurance broker here, she was able to find a carrier to write it, but a lot of companies that I usually use were denying it. But you can get insurance on them for sure. Any other questions?
We're good to go. Oh, no. Okay. I don't know how to.
You just gotta put the mouse back on the screen.
Okay.
Click on it. There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Pre-foreclosures, obviously another huge list. Basically, someone that's hasn't got to the foreclosure process for years. During COVID, right, a couple of years, they weren't foreclosing on properties. They're definitely starting to in a lot quicker. So it's like 3 to 6 months, non-payment, we'll take your house back. So pre-foreclosure, it's called an NOD, notice of default. After a 3-month mark, they're gonna send you a notice that you gotta either pay up or sell the house or it's gonna be auctioned. So there's a lot more properties these days, and you can find them on auction.com. XOME was the site where I bought a property last year on. You can do the online auctions or you can do at the courthouse steps. From what I hear, it's like the good old boys down there, right? Like these are like 60-year-old, 50-year-old dudes who've been playing at the auction for like 20 years or something like that. And they got, you know, they got a lot of cash, and they'll price the new guy out just so you don't come back. Oh, there's no good deals here. So there's like a little mafia vibe going on at the courthouse steps. I have a buddy in Indiana that I'm in a mastermind with, and he was literally saying that he'll buy something at the courthouse steps, like, and again, maybe there's no new people, go buy it at a lower price, they're not bidding against each other, and they'll go in the parking lot and sell it to one another later. So it doesn't get like bid of it. Like there's some crazy stuff going on at the steps that you gotta be on the ends and you kind of make some relationships there, because I don't think they want this. They don't want they don't want all 40 of us, 20 of us showing up, right? Because then it's competition. So they'll literally lose some money on a couple deals, so it's better for them in the long run. Anyways, before it goes to foreclosure, it's a pre-foreclosure, it becomes public record, and these people are often individually put their head in the sand, and it can be super challenging to sometimes get a hold of them. Picked up a handful of properties last year, in situations like this, and it's like pulling teeth sometimes, you know, if they, you know, you're trying to give them some cash in their pocket before it goes to foreclosure, but sometimes they don't care, or they got some life stuff going on, they're just really okay just letting the property go. Another benefit about this, which buddy Nathan here can attest to, is you could get a lot of seller financing deals or creative financing, right? You can take over their mortgage and pay off their debt, or partner with them, or do some different creative stuff when they're behind on their payments, they're gonna just lose their house, like they're just looking for a lifeline. And you can certainly have some better conversations at times to maybe get a rental at a low rate. I know Brian, did you end up buying a house in North Highlands?
I did, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was something they were going in pre-foreclosure, we talked about a little bit, they needed like 20,000 to get caught up on their payments, I had something similar, and you can add to your rental portfolio. In a much cheaper route than obviously put 20% down, where you're finding folks that are willing to let you take over the mortgage.
And you cash flow right away.
Yeah, you're not gonna cash flow like a 7-8%.
Yeah.
Does auction.com show pre-foreclosures too, or just those that goes to auction?
Well, they're technically pre-foreclosures because, okay, so auction.com will have like 30 properties per se that's gonna go to the steps in, I don't know, a week or two or whatever, and half of them get resolved, one way or another. Either Brian or Nathan have reached out to them and working out something, right? So it can be like, it could be a list, right? But you could go on Zillow and find a pre-foreclosure list.
Yeah.
But, you know, you can do a loan modification, right, where you can delay some time. You can file bankruptcy. What else are there other ways besides a loan mod and bankruptcy? I mean, paying down the debt, but yeah, so it,
And sometimes just ask, you're negotiating with them, they'll give you some more time here and there.
yeah.
They bankruptcy kind of like that.
It-
In case of emergency.
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 weeks.
You're like, almost your last lifeline is like filing bankruptcy sometimes. Cause sometimes they'll do these loan mods and they only get so many chances at loan mods, right? They can't be free, right? It's a whole year and they keep like, hey, give me my, literally they send in some documents, like they'll just delay the sale, right? They may have no intention on actually keeping the property, but it's a way to like prolong and delay the process. Again, like bankruptcy attorneys, like networking with them, asset managers is, you know, I talked about fiduciaries earlier, like asset managers back in the REO days for folks that have been in real estate for a while, like they were the ones that had all the, you know, Wells Fargo as an asset manager that's gonna distribute these 30 bankrupt or foreclosure properties a month, so it could be, and in cases they wanna sell them in bulk, like if someone will buy like 5 or 10 of them, that can be easier than distributing them one by one. Same way we talk about like finding realtors online, you could go on MLS and search for like either short sales in under special conditions, REOs or variation of that, and then you're able to find realtors that do more deals within that niche, and you're able to network with them, find deals, see if you can find some help. Finding deals on MLS. Here's just some description, some words that you can put in the description. Fixers, handyman, special, TLC, creative financing. Creative financing is one like more so you're gonna find now. But yeah, it's an opportunity. You can. There's a whole world of like subject to these days where people are specifically looking for deals, creative financing on there, and you're just assuming their mortgage. Or maybe you can talk them into carrying the note, right? Like having a seller carry the note is usually based, in some cases, like I was trying to work out this deal recently, offering them like 0% interest. Right? You can give them whatever pie in the sky price that maybe they are looking for, even over market value, if you get favorable terms, right? Like if they wanted 350, you can give them 370 or 380 if they just financed it at 0% and just pay them all principal for every 10 years. So there's some creative stuff like that you can find those deals on MLS. When they go back on market, multiple price drops, 60 days on market. You know, it's a numbers game to find deals online. Say like if you submit like 100 offers, maybe you get 1 or 2 deals. I've heard it's like a 2% thing. I probably do like a couple deals a year on MLS. I don't have like a full-fledged strategy of like firing off offers, but some people do. You guys seen what 1-800 exit as is?
Yeah.
So this company is like basically
every listing you put on.
every listing you put on, they're firing an offer.
It doesn't matter if it's nice.
They got
or
some
if
VAs
they're-
and whatever going on, yeah, like 70, yeah, you put a nice listing, they're set. Whoever, you know, breakdowns doing earlier, they have their numbers, they're like 70% of that house, we're just gonna make an offer. They're picking up houses, you don't often get them the first time around, you're getting them like on rebound. Right, so like, oh, that guy wrote his offer first, followed up with me. We went with Bobby's offer and Bobby backed out. So they're going back to, you know, the other company, so they do get some deals for sure. Maybe wrapping up here, but yeah, learning and building your network. So basically, you know, this is just kind of breaking down podcasts I listen to. Bigger Pockets is huge. How I kind of got into hearing about various strategies with real estate investing. 7-Figure Flippers got a cool podcast. Multi-Investor, the program Ryan Pineda that I'm in. Get Creative is by Pace Morby. If you guys don't know who Pace Morby is, I would definitely go follow him on Instagram. It's all about creative financing. He's got a cool podcast. Real Estate Disruptors is by Steve Trang, who has like a sales training program that's really good. They do a cool, if you guys have ever watched Pardon the Disruption online, they have like a variation of that of like 4 or 5 real estate guru guys that are on there, and they're just bannering and talking about ideas and best practices. So that one's kind of fun. Carrot Podcast talks a lot about online marketing, SEO type stuff, pay-per-click. Networking, you know, I run a meetup. We're gonna be hosting our next one February 21st. We've been having like a pretty cool buzz at our meetups. It's at Crawdads on the river, so it's a cool spot, cool location. I think we have like 130 people there in January, and we've been having close to like 100, so it's good networking. There's a few of you guys here that have come out, so appreciate it. Come out here, support me here too. But yeah, we're having speakers, educational. Next one actually is myself and Chad, partner that runs it. We're doing like a Q&A, maybe more details on project management and how you facilitate construction and stuff like that. We'll talk about some of the marketing channels. In March, we're gonna have a guy that does novations, which is kind of a newer strategy technique that's kind of working for some properties. I think April, we're gonna have like a women's panel for women that are successful in the real estate flipping space. My buddy Mitch runs one in Roseville. Sergey runs one in West Sac and Kick and Mule. So if you go to meetup.com, like you can find some different groups to join, and it's huge. Like networking, again, network is your net worth. So I would definitely recommend if it's in Peterson or whatever, right? I've met Eric there. Matt and I have connected. Brian, like, you know, there's just another Brian, like, you know, the relationships that you can make at these different events, different environment. If you're at Keller Williams, like, you know, we come here to buy with other builders, but if you want to get in the mix of actually investing, like, you know, Eric's totally changed my mind, like ADU, like, oh, maybe there's something here actually that I totally failed on. Matt does some different wholesaling with agents, and Brian does lending, and he's working on some other real estate problems and talks about tax stuff. So it's a cool environment to learn with each other, build, and you never know what you can come away with or find some people to do deals with. I just said build or join a community. These are like education programs. I joined a wealthy investor a couple of years ago. My business has definitely taken off just by getting around like-minded people and seeing like a growth plan. I now do quite a bit in like my paid marketing channels that I never felt comfortable with until I saw like the light with someone else. Like we talk about like those mailer campaigns, like all these when you're falling to a T like what someone else is doing and it's working, then you're more likely to have success with it. Sub 2 group is Pace Morby's. Are you guys familiar? Yeah. It's like $7,000, like it's a one-time thing, and you're in this group for life. Like a lot of them, there's like annual dues. Pace Morby's is one time, and you're in this massive community, and you're learning all this stuff on how to do seller financing and subject to deals, and talk with sellers, and you have people on there that can help you close deals. Like I would think you can get your money back pretty quickly on that investment, but it's a really cool community. Even so, like going on his Facebook page is like Pace Morby Creative Deals. And you'll go on there and you'll find deals from like Indiana and Minnesota and put 10 grand down and you got a rental. Like it's kind of crazy, but there's some cool stuff that you can learn on there. And I think there's a meetup for them in like Oak Grove. You put on there like, hey, I'm in Sacramento, you know, looking to connect with people. There's a bunch of people that will chime in because there's some meetups just for that.
Do you only do like flips in California, or do you do them in other states?
I only do California right now. I did one in Salt Lake Tahoe, so I was like close to Nevada, but I'm doing one in Hayward right now, which I'm just starting to get out of my comfort zone. I can say I've done a good job of learning from other people's mistakes. which I count as a blessing. I got one of my good buddies that I've seen have some really rough times, like in the Bay Area, especially like in the downturn last year, 2022. Where, you know, if you're buying high or buying in an area where you don't fully understand the comps, or I remember he did some deals in San Diego and LA and spread it out and didn't go well. So like I've wanted to perfect what I'm doing here. I got like 4 different crews that I work with. I do run 6 to 7 projects at a time. I'm, you know, you're better off doing it somewhat in your backyard. Invest. A lot of people ask if I would invest out of state. Like I'm able to find deals here, and I'm able to have my property managers that I know, that I trust, my vendors. Like, you know, if you go out of state, you don't know what you don't know. I guess unless you get like a slam and deal, I'd be open to it. But it's probably harder if you're here getting something else.
I might have missed this part. When you started real estate, how long did it take you to get into this part, your niche?
I think I got my license 2015. It'll be 9 years this year in May. Well, right away I started going after like investment properties. But my broker did flips at the time. It was Chris McPhail, before real estate. He did flips, so I didn't have like a book of business. I was like 27 or something then. And I just was looking for properties for him. So I was writing offers on MLS. And then I met my buddy Garrett. And then I had 2 guys. I was like, you know, I knew Garrett flipped a bunch of properties. I was like, dude's working out at 24-hour fitness. Like, I'm gonna go hang with him. Like every morning I go there and like pick his brain and just like became like mentor and friend. And I find him deals. And then I got a deal. It was a fire damage property. We did it together. We split it. I saw the whole process. I saw the permitting process. Scared the hell out of me. But I was able to learn with him. And then I kind of slowly started doing some deals myself. My first deal I did with like my mom. It was an easier entry point. It was like 15,000 each that we ripped.
Okay, so that year, how many transactions did you do?
Flips or real estate?
Just real estate, right? Because those are.
Oh, just real estate?
selling them.
Like sale, I was probably doing like 20 to 25 deals, like traditional real estate, and then I was flipping a couple on the side, and then I started
And
doing 30.
you grew a team,
Yeah.
and how many people on your team?
After my wife runs the team, that right there with the Lynn. We have, I have 2 teams essentially. After and I don't do the sales anymore. I let her do all this. We have a buyer's agent, we have an admin, and then our virtual assistant. And then that's our sales team. We're actually looking for a listing agent, so often can run more like CEO and spend time with the kids more. And then on the flipping team, it's myself. I got Brandon, my lead manager. Sam is somewhere around here. I got Curtis is making some calls for me. I just hired another acquisition guy, so there's about 4 or 5 of us, and then a virtual assistant on like our flipping team. And then I got project managers and construction team that have been with me for years and years. But yeah, I mean, it took a while to scale it and grow it, and you know, it definitely helped me because I have seen other flippers that have been in these different programs and having like the real estate sales business and then having the flipping on the side. You know, I made way more money doing sales at the beginning than I was doing flipping side, and then you just kind of teeter the other way. And I was like, I'm making more money flipping. This is taking more time. I need to put more energy into flipping. And it did help, you know, I haven't been the best at delegating at times, but Afton and I would she would take some stuff over, and I was able to spend more time in the flipping business. And then, you know, buying properties, like I was able to have more of a cushion, right? Like I talked her into selling her house that she wanted to keep forever. It's like, if the world collapses, we have an $800 mortgage at this rental. I was like, yeah, but you know, like $100,000 in there. Like, why don't we buy like these 3 other rentals? It seemed crazy at the time, and we did. So obviously, you know, the first deal I did is with my mom. I maxed out all my credit cards, right? At certain times, I've been overextended, but because I had like the real estate income consistent, you know, it's always helped complement it. And now it's shifted the other way. But when you're having hard, like all these properties you buy on hard money, it's like $2,000 to $4,000 a month per property on hard money expenses, right? So it's a very cash intensive business, like $3,000 a month on hard money, spending a lot of money on marketing right now, and now we have like 3 employees, office expense, all these above, like. And then you have to put a decent amount of money down, and you gotta pay your contractors as you go, so it can be a challenging business to maneuver cash flow, and it's always helped that I've had like dual incomes.
If there was one thing that you could share with this group, that you are gonna go, do not do this. Even though you're in this like networking area and you hear people doing this and you're like, do not listen to that person. What is that one thing that you've done maybe?
Well, I'd say more it's like buying wrong, like buying a bad floor plan and buying the house on a busy street, or there's a guy that I see like, oh, this house in East Sac, and it was a total disaster. And I remember from the beginning, because they didn't know how to comp. Like, so I mean, a lot of you guys are builders, so you have a leg up, like understanding how to comp. But if you're not a busy builder, like that can set you back quite a bit. And then getting out of your comfort zone when you're in a different area, like, I mean, those are the 3 things, and it all has to do with like the location and desirability of a house is huge. And not having, I made a mistake recently. I bought some tri-level houses. Like, I've known they sucked. I didn't think they sucked this bad. This property in Folsom, like I thought it was a beautiful half-acre lot, pool. Nobody cares. It's tri-level. It's not cool. So that's something to be mindful of. So yeah. Did that kind of answer it? I know it was
Yeah, I just wanted everybody to hear, things that others might not ask.
Yes.
How long did you partner with people until you, like, how many years or how many transactions till you did your very own flip by yourself?
Well, I guess the first one I did with my mom, it was just one. I found deals for Chris McPhail and then my buddy Garrett. And then, and I saw a deal, it was only, 160,000 in South Sac, and we were able to buy that. My mom and I did. And the second deal I did by myself, and that was pretty scary. It was I think my second deal, it was in Yuba City. And I remember it was the year that was like threatening to flood. It was like 2017, I think it was. It was from a probate attorney. So yeah, it was, I had a contractor that had a drug problem and did some shoddy work. Was driving 40 minutes to Yuba, and it wasn't a great product that we like delivered to the next buyer, but it was affordable. Like we only sold it like $240, $250. And then I did another one in South Natomas, a short sale thing. So it was my second and third deal. But then I still go back and I still JV deals with people. Like I'm still like partnering with people to this day. Like I think my 5th or 6th deal was the fire damage one with Garrett, and then I had this guy Edwin that he did me deals, and we partner on them. Like I'm still doing stuff like that. Like I want to do something with Eric, on these ADU things and figure out what that looks like. Ethan and I talked about doing some deals together. Matt and I one day will. Certainly, like I think to collaborate and join forces, we're able to accomplish more. Because it's a cash intensive business. Like you're gonna run out of money no matter what.
And how much, so every flip that you had, how much of that money, your profit went into the next project? Did you have like a percentage, or did everything?
No, you just till the wheels fall off. I have kids. So I max out definitely some cards, and I did low on accounts. So I definitely took some risks. I was younger. I probably do a little safer like today. But yeah, I mean, I reinvest in my business. Like I've always had pretty good money, but I've never been never bought like super expensive stuff. Like I got friends that are buying the cars and the whatever, the bigger houses. I just bought a nice house. But I would buy rental properties. And I think like when your money is consistently not in your account, it can be good because you're reinvesting back in that flip, or you just paid $40,000 to buy this rental property. So I have pretty good wealth, but at times like my bank account wouldn't show it, which can be nice, right? Because then the money's like almost hidden from you. So I've always kind of reinvested a lot of my money back. And recently I've been reaching out to private investors and raising capital, and it's allowed me to hire. It's allowed me to spend more money on marketing. Because every flip, like you always gotta put $50,000 or $60,000 down. You got $3,000 a month of hard money payments. You gotta pay your contractors, some money. So again, it's capital intensive. You'll get some money back for the hard money lender to give you some money for construction, but you still need a good amount of capital per property. So recently, Theory, I'm partnering now, right? I'm providing investors with a return 10 to 12%. And they're making some money, it's good passive money. And I'm able to operate more at scale. You know, I've been able to do 6 to 8 projects at a time. Feel like I have the reserves. The reserves is huge. Like you asked, like, what would I do different? Like, make sure you have like 6-month reserves, especially today's a different market. I was starting out in maybe a harder market, and in 2018 we hit like a lull when rates went up, and then obviously COVID had a little lull, and then 22 was really my career in real estate was the worst of it, and people are struggling for sure right now. People are getting thank jobs, and you know, lenders are getting out of the business, realtors getting out of the business. So I took a couple losses in 22. Overall, it was a solid year. But yeah, I mean, something to keep in mind for sure is making sure you have proper reserves, and that's why I like partnering with somebody and figuring it out the first time. Like, you don't know what you don't know, so it's like you're gonna be able to go further with some of those. For sure.
What I heard through all of this is you're surrounding yourself with, well, you started at a young age, surrounding yourself with people who you wanted to inspire to. Is that correct? So you know how the saying goes, if you want to think bigger, you have to be hanging out with the people who are thinking bigger.
Yeah.
100%. So
100%.
you are those people who you want to inspire to, right?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good point. It's just always been important to me. And I've had, you know, I went to a high school and hung out with friends with drug problems. I've had some problems. I used to sell weed. I used to be in the wrong crowds. And I was on ankle monitor. Keep me old for a long time. Not a long time, 6 months.
And you married, yeah.
I've always been in sales, right? Matt would have arrested me back in the day. So, you know, I think I realized after a while, yeah, you gotta hang out with a better group of people. And that's why I love Keller Williams. Like, there's a lot of really good people here. I love the friendships and relationships. John, Brian, and Dex, and there's a ton of people here, Michelle, and all the folks here. And then in the community that we're building, the investor community, it's so cool. Brian, Eric, Matt, and Nathan, all these other people, like, you know, the real estate minds, the mastermind, the community, like, I've been certainly like leveling up, hanging out with people there. And then these groups, Matt and I met in Vegas, in Ryan Pineda's group, and the kid's like, he's like 32 or 30, and he's like worth like 10 million, and just seeing all the possibilities with what this guy's done, and the energy when people go there, and the collaboration of wanting to invest and figure out different ways to do it. Recently, I joined a group called Collective Genius, and it's like, that was, I feel like I'm definitely a small fish in that group. Like, the entry point is almost doing like 100 deals per se. So it's definitely like an elite group, and I feel like you just want to like continue to level up, because then when you're around those folks, you're likely to raise your lid. So that's been what I did this past year that seemed like big and scary, and gonna go hang out with these people that do.
But I
far
like how you
larger
said
businesses
that.
than I do.
You're constantly learning, because most successful people are constantly learning. They're constantly going to other classes, even if you have to go twice to the same class, because you're picking up the nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Because we all run across the people who, oh, I don't have to go to that class, I already know that. But it's smart, you keep on surrounding yourself with people who's lifting your lid.
Yeah, I think certainly like paying to play, right? And I've always thought that with Keller Williams, right? Like, maybe it's not the cheapest brokerage, but I came here to be like around Michael Suarez and trying to think of her name, but Parm and Upton and no, but I mean, they were like, I was at Rebacks, there was hitters here. I'm like, I gotta get in that environment because I know I'm gonna raise my lid. And then, you know, Matt can test this. He's in what you say, you're in 3 different like education programs. We're both in, again, the wealthy investor base. I paid like $25,000 to join a group like a year and a half ago, and then I have a private coach that I was paying, this guy Jason Pritchard that's in Fresno, and then I just joined this Collective Genius group. So like in total, it could sound crazy, probably spending like $40,000 a year on education. But it's like, are you gonna get a return on that? Then it's not a big deal, right? If you're gonna, and I think I remember being at the bar and hanging over, she was over here, my buddy T, and he paid for Fortune Builders or something like that back in the day. Said it was a ripoff and paid 25,000 for it or whatever, and I was like, man, that's crazy. Of course, I was younger, he's a little older, but he didn't utilize what was available, right? Like, if you're gonna pay, you have no intention on like plugging in, then don't do it, obviously. And then, the wealthy investor is probably 80-20, 70-30 is probably fairly motivated, but I would bet 70% of the people in there probably don't like utilize what's available and the tools and resources in order to apply themselves. So obviously that's a huge thing when you're paying to get in one of these programs. If you put your foot forward and you're doing the right things and implementing, you're gonna make some money. All these things that I went through, like it's the same thing that everybody's doing. Like success up here, it's simple but not easy. Right? Success is simple, not easy. Just do what you gotta do, be consistent, and in 6 to 12 months, like you're gonna have results.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Bobby, I know contracting is always a big one, right?
Yeah.
What recommendations do you have for someone, first getting in and trying to build that contracting? Because you've heard, the good and the bad, and trying to navigate through that.
Contracting, right? To start, I mean, it's just like whoever, I didn't go about it the right way, but you want to find a cheaper way, I guess, when you're starting out, because you don't want to pay high-end dollars. But I think it's like, the guy that ain't gonna be left, I wish he didn't. But like, that dude he could be a good person referral, and you look, and then he probably knows somebody. So it's always been like a referral roundtable, you call it. The plumber knows an electrician, the electrician knows the sheetrock guy knows the HVAC guy. I think I mentioned before, like I have a lot of different contacts. I'm usually not gonna get people like my top 3 because I keep them busy all the time, but there's certain people that I certainly refer, and there's I'd say go on like the Facebook investor marketplaces and sometimes various meetups, like they'll have some contractors, but it can be tough for sure to like vet them out. I've had some horror stories of having a guy ride up on a bicycle to paint a house that I had in a park, and I'm like, this is definitely not the guy. He's got a house and everything, like hired the wrong guy. So it's I think referrals. I've also like one of the guys, right now we just bought a house in a nice area, and we're gonna do like an addition, a 1,400 square foot addition. I'm using contractor, it's not licensed. I'm using a guy that I met, and we were just walking in our neighborhood, and he flipped a house that I didn't flip. He was a contractor, did this amazing job on this house, like 3,500 square feet, dialed. And he's the guy I'm using 2 years later to do like a 1,200 square foot addition at his house and did some stuff at our current house. So you never know. Like I'm definitely like we're walking through the neighborhood, I see a painter van, I'm like, I gotta do this. So it's just like, and then I think it's like understanding the buzzwords. Like you talk to an electrician, like I ask him like how much does a panel swap cost? Right? If you have like those key indicators of like, if you ask them how much does a remodel cost? I don't want to answer that, right? But if you have, how much is a panel cost? Cool, it's 2,500. That's not bad. How much does tiling a basic shower cost? Right, just tile, right? $1,200. That's pretty good. If he says 2,500, that's too much, right? How much does it cost $1 per square foot on floors? So I think there's like lingo like that. If they're like $3 a foot on floors, I'm like, that's too much. I want to be at like $1.75. HVAC, right? How much is the HVAC cut in installed? Right? He's at 12 grand. I'm like, I can't work with you. So there's kind of things like that. How much does roofing verbiage is how much per square? Right? How much is it count squares when they install roofs? Kind of things like that, kind of gives me a good idea what I'm like, at least feeling people out. And then obviously you want to see like some work that they've done. Anybody else? Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the good questions. Softball stuff. Alright.
Yeah. I was-
Okay, cool. Appreciate it.
You just gotta probably have like, so he's the term now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm almost done.
Like, probably gotta.
What's up, man? Yeah, it's not me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully a couple little nuggets and then some people in here are experts as well, so you never know. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah. Thank you.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
What's up, huh? How we doing? You're talking. Always, it's always. Appreciate it. Eric, did you check out the Calistoga house?
Yeah, it's one by them.
Yeah, saying, huh? Yeah.
That's right. How you doing? Good.
Yeah, that's your alley RV access. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, man? You getting that, man? Yeah, Eric's gonna play too.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I did.
You go, Brian.
Brian, Eric.
What are we doing?
So we got to be chill on upstairs.
You can speak about. That's what I'm asking, like, what are you?
Yeah, I've been like underrated.
Yeah, I talked to Sam, was gonna vacation and get a little bit of. That's Brian, a good area.
His Uncle Bobby.
Yeah. I like the lots.
Playing golf.
I'm not-
We're gonna get started.
I'm not swinging a metal club.
Yeah.
They're gonna hand us like plastic ones.
Last one I did, last two I did. I don't even know which one she.
And that might be on the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're different.
Brian, you go?
Hi, you ready? Yeah. You have your orientation, huh? Yeah.
All right. Thinking of who would be like a good 8th person up here. We're gonna go play golf.
We got a couple more months till the baby's here.
Soggy condition.
Gotta grind it up. Right. Well, we're.
Like Mitch is coming, Chad.
Yeah, a little more crazy for sure.
This is like Zach. Zach is like mobile home stuff. Hey, how are you?
See ya.
Denise, the flips.
Coming next time?
Like Mitch is the only one that I know is really good. He's damn near a scratch call.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm very. Yeah, cool. I'll break 100 sometimes. I haven't played in a while. Yeah, we'll try to get out there. Like, I think I want to try to get a recurring. I play with Mitch and Chad. We'll probably go hard.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Play different portions.
Yeah, it's other title rep. That's down the way, but
Well.
he gets like 5. You have He'll take all the shot playing on my own and Turkey Creek, videos.
He does really good.
To Cash Creek, so it's kind of cool. Like I've never really done that. I'm not a great golfer, so I'm like just playing local. So it's cool to like be exposed to people that want to like travel around. Unless Mitch inspires me, I'd probably be the lame guy. I'd be like, let's keep going to the same spot. How are you gonna say playing golf park quicker?
Wait, look like a 9 o'clock.
I know, everything right now.
Yeah, really cool. Played it once. Super nice.
Yeah, that one's beautiful.
How's the game going? So you got the.
Don't. But you're gonna take my number down or?
Oh, you doing one?
We got married.
Or call me on like Instagram.
2 big years?
Yeah. And so, you know, how old's your little one? That's why it's got the one that's like house, I've got.
Yeah, everyone.
Besides where you can go through.
Same.
Yeah. So, obviously,
Updates.
I got one that's pretty good price, and then a couple other ones that are definitely higher than mine. So I'm like,
Yeah, Conrad called. Well, she wants to, and then I called her. Yeah. I got a guy I've been working with for like 4 years, so. But it's a pretty good job. Like certain things. I have to do,
Thank you.
I got a lot of stuff too, so I just. I act as like.
What's up, man?
Terrence.
Terrence, nice to meet you.
Well, we had Abby,
So that's what it-
they were so oldest, and you know, now I should start doing months. Now I know enough. At least I know what something else.
Housing general liability. with the owner.
You know,
I always do that.
Just gotta learn information, like,
I probably have a little time. Probably not. I just do it.
Yeah.
I think it's-
Yeah, definitely recommend that we come down.
So you're talking about like down the road.
Yeah, or even, you know, we would talk about some stuff happening, you know.
I mean, I haven't. So I just gotta.
But it's so small.
Yeah.
The third row came, so.
No, that's fine. We got it back, so, and it's seven. But, you know, probably. Kind of a gunslinger.
Everybody's like that, right?
Alright, we'll head out before traffic gets crazy. Yeah, it's a fun spot. Yeah, I guess.
Not crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.